June 20th, taking a walk through the garden. I have been working on the entryway. Still have to build a gate one day. Most of the trellis system for growing vertical and later for the irrigation is on this section. Still gonna have to do some weeding. Second grouping of squash, zucchini, yellow squash, such is up. Hot peppers as well. Gonna have to do some weeding there soon. This still haven't made it over here to weed. Soon project. Done some weeding on the bush cucumbers as well as radishes. The radishes are here to cover up the scent of the cucumbers to keep the cucumber beetles from finding them. Weeded this area. Looks like some black raspberries, of course, growing everywhere, seeded from the birds. Mushmelon here. Tomatoes, not doing too bad. They've done contracted some blight because of all the rain. A few tomatoes here. Earliest plants, of course, over here. Got quite a few tomatoes setting on. This plant has already breached the second wire, heading towards the next. Another one over in the distance. Right there. Yes, I have now officially found the zoom. Not the plant it was supposed to be, I believe. This was supposed to be a version of a San Marzano. Looks to be a large cherry tomato so far, but we'll see how it turns out. This, I believe, was supposed to be the same kind, maybe. Not exactly sure. It is, of course, different than the other variety. They have a nice little tit hanging down on the bottom of the tomatoes. Must be for tomato juice. Still haven't planted this area yet. Haven't decided. Some squash here. Still lots of weeds still needing to be worked on. Sweet corn is doing quite well. Like many other plants I've seen, they've got the yellow spots on some of their leaves. The new leaves have fewer. Some vines still needing weeded much more than others. Although they're looking poor, red raspberries have set on a few. They'll have to be dug up, thinned, and moved soon as I can. Cardboard going down to cover the grass. Straw will go over that so I don't have to pull as much. Some straw already down in this area. Cardboard underneath. We'll be needing mulch. Ground up bark for the beds soon. Turmeric is up and looking quite well over there. Gooseberries are already turning red. Looking quite delicious. Some of my black raspberries are not faring as well as others. I'll have to look into seeing what they're needing more of, possibly just more mulch on the other side of the fence. Sunflower looks to be trying to produce a bloom on the top. Watermelons, many of them's weeded, one small spot, and a few more weeds along in this area. No watermelons here. These are pole beans, so I can of course weed these and go at this later. Tobacco plant, just to show people what they look like. Pole beans are vining up. These are the yard-long beans. More muskmelon. Not doing very well this year. This plant is squash, vining type. This is sage. My pineapples, of course. Peas, some of them are not looking as good as they ought to be. Others are looking great. Some honeydews vining here. More squash. Regular pole beans. Some of them doing quite well. I do have zucchini setting on. This is a yellow zucchini. And here is a light green. These are yellow squash. I don't see any at the moment. These should be dark green. The yellow one directly in the middle bloomed before the male blooms set on, so of course it did not get pollinated. So without seeds being pollinated, it is worthless for the plant, so they rot. They have to be pollinated. Bush beans. This looks different than the rest. Bought in seeds, so most likely mixed like in the years past. Bell peppers, not doing the greatest, but they are beginning to grow. I never cut the tops out of mine, and they still branch into many tops. I've yet figured out why people always prune theirs. Because I have no problem leaving mine, and they take care of themselves. Many branches. Peanuts on the other side. Watermelons. They are mostly weeded and mulched. Starting to vine. Eggplants are doing quite well. I found 2 blooms so far. One there, one on another plant. Beets are looking pretty good along here. Miniature hollyhock blooming. Another one. But one lesson learned, Egyptian walking onions, the beets will not grow next to them. Those little bitty ones were planted at the same time as my other beets. They just do not like each other. Leeks, finally planted. Garlic, this was planted in the spring. Not planted yet. Later beets, a few coming up. Earlier beets. Second planting of peas growing up on the fence next to the potatoes. Ginger. Cucumbers are finally doing something over here. Finding variety. They're blooming male blooms. I don't see no females yet. Be a decent patch. Some I had to replant are quite younger. Cabbages here. Some are forming heads. I suppose most of them are. This one's still growing. Be much later. Brussels sprouts in the middle, purple. These bell peppers have finally, most of them have finally taken off. Still growing slow, but due to the volunteer potatoes, this of course is stomach high. It looks to be another nice looking bell pepper. The wire's set at about 1.5 feet tall. They'll be getting close soon. A very nice onion crop, I believe. A few have already bulbed, the others are beginning. This will be a very interesting one down here to see how large this will get, as well as the possibility of this one. Each leaf is a layer of the onion, so it has a possibility to get quite even softball size or larger. Later onions, more volunteer potatoes in the onions, volunteer Swiss chard, some later tomatoes, volunteer lettuce is getting ready to go to seed, I believe. Yes, there's some just starting to bloom, getting ready to. Tomatoes, brandywine black, oxheart, setting on quite a few, tapping blooms to pollinate. And better boys, they're setting a few tomatoes, a few hiding back in the distance. More peppers, got them weeded. They're still not doing too well. This group is doing much better. Something a little different in the soil, I suppose. Possibility, no cabbage on the opposite side, or only one plant. Rabbit ate those. Not sure. Possibility to look into, although this one and this one is doing quite well right next to cabbage. Cherry tomatoes. These three are doing quite well. These three were planted later and are not cherry tomatoes. Their seed was not correctly marked. Brussels sprouts, cabbage on the other side, pole beans vining up. This one's already passed. Cauliflower, broccoli, etc. I believe that would be all cauliflower there, broccoli here. As I said, watermelons vining out. Some volunteer tomatoes will have to be removed, some of them. More later cherry tomatoes. These are the world's smallest cherry tomatoes. Just the vines alone, as you can see I've broken this one, are very tiny. And these are most likely full-size tomatoes. Much smaller than a finger even. Let's see, cucamelons heading up the fences. They're rather late this year as well. Many volunteer ones. All pear-shaped tomatoes in this bed. Sorry for the length, this is getting to be quite a long video. Some tomatoes are not doing quite as good with the onions either. Far side, fewer onions, they're doing a little better. Asparagus, growing a new stalk there. Looking quite nice. Sprayed the grapes, trying to save those from fungus. Strawberries, many runners. Quite possibly going to pull these out. As you can see, no strawberries. And these are supposed to be everbears. Some more eggplant. Same here, no berries. They are not everbears. Some new everbears possibly to try. Same here, a new one. This one is called Galore White. Be interesting to see how it does. And the artichokes are recovering from the rabbits eating them off. All these nice spikes on the leaves, and rabbits will still devour them. Another one there, and another one there. Of course, I got this area weeded a couple of days ago. And of course, this was supposed to be my herb garden. And maybe next year I'll try again. Hopefully this fall I can get this cleaned out, mulched, and possibly ready for spring planting. Still have not picked my bell pepper. beautiful red bell pepper now, as well as many green ones. This is last year's plant that got left in my shed. Had I planted it sooner, it would have been much larger, but I planted it early this spring in a pot. Till then it was in a small cup. But this is the garden so far. June 20th. Sweet corn is looking fairly well. Not like last year's tossling. Has some suckers. I may remove a few of them, but I may leave some. The suckers themselves, in the past, when they grow well, have actually produced an ear of corn in the top of the suckers. Sometimes the tassel has times to pollinate it. Sometimes they're too late. But due to the next planting of sweet corn, small ones, they can pollinate the suckers. I believe the timing will be right. So another reason why to replant corn a second time is if you have a variety like the peaches and cream that produces suckers and grows ears, a good wet year you can get that pollinated. Any day now, I would think that will extend due to how close all the leaves are together. Once it decides to shoot up, that should extend out and reach 4 to possibly 6 or 7 feet tall. Still some wire to put in. This was where last year's stopped and this year's has started. But this is a video of how my garden looks today. Zoom does not look like this wire system, trellis system.